Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori and this is Africa 54. Now tonight, the crisis in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo deepens by the day. The United Nations says 80,000 people have been driven from their homes over the past month as the UN Stabilization Force and the Congolese army battle the M23 rebels. The situation is especially dicey in the North Kivu province. Ongoing peace talks between the DRC and the rebel groups in Kampala, Uganda, are deadlocked and have so far failed to produce a peace deal. Regional heads of state had asked the parties to meet to try reach a deal before the UN General Assembly session opens next week. Now, former Wisconsin Senator Russ Feingold is President Obama's new special envoy to the Great Lakes region. He has just returned from his first trip to Africa in his new role and joins us now from the State Department. Senator, welcome once again.
Good to be on your show.
Now, tell us what can you tell us about the situation in the eastern Congo between the government forces and the M23 rebels?
Well, the issue of the M23 rebels is one of many different armed groups that are operating illegally in eastern Congo. And this has to be brought to an end. The framework agreement that was signed in February by 11 African nations pledges to stop this. And the recent violence had to do with an outbreak of violence by the M23. But fortunately, the combination of the UN force with the Congolese military was able to push that back. And at the moment, things are quiet, but that doesn't resolve the issue of all these armed groups and the instability in the border areas and the need for a peace agreement that also involves real economic development for the area.
Yes. Now, the United States says Rwanda should stop supporting the M23 rebels. Is that happening?
No country in the region should be supporting any of these illegal armed groups. We've made that very clear to Rwanda because we have seen credible reporting of support from Rwanda for the M23, and we've made it clear all over every opportunity we've had here when we've talked to them in New York, but also directly in Rwanda, that is something that cannot be tolerated. The same goes, though, for any support for the FDLR by any other group or the group called the ADF. So no country in the region should be supporting these armed groups, and we've been consistent in that message to all the countries involved.
Now that you've been close to that region, what about the humanitarian situation in Kivu?
Well, it's terrible. There are so many internally displaced person camps as well as refugee camps. It is one of the worst human disasters in the world. Already in the past 20 years, over 5 million people have died either directly or indirectly related to the violence. There is the abuse of conscripting child soldiers. There's unspeakable violence against women. And these things continue and will continue until the African nations there, with the help of the international community, put an end to the armed violence in the region and reestablish Congolese sovereignty over the area. So the humanitarian situation is very serious, and we visited one of these refugee camps where you see how horrible the situation is for people that have been driven from their homes.
Now, you do mention that there should be some help from the international community and regional countries, but how best can the international community, in fact, help the Congolese achieve peace?
Well, we have the basis for this in the framework agreement that was signed. We are creating benchmarks that will follow things like making sure that these armed groups are eliminated, that will make sure that the Congolese government itself moves toward democratic reform and reforms its military, so the military and the police can actually have control over that region instead of letting armed groups run loose in the area. We also are going to make sure that other countries in the region stop illegitimate activity, whether it be exploiting natural resources, and to try to have a positive side to the story. The international community, through the World Bank, has pledged $1 billion as a part of this process to provide for positive economic development, electricity, transportation, and other things that can be done, because the fact is, Eastern Congo has lots of resources, but those resources should be first and foremost for the people of Eastern Congo and the people of that region, not for those who have exploited that area, and that exploitation has been going on for over 100 years and has to stop.
Now, Senator, there are those who become a bit skeptical. They say this conflict has been going on for a long time. Peace efforts have been going on for a long time without much success. What are the prospects for peace this time around? What do you see?
Well, people have a right to be skeptical, but what they don't have a right to do is to think that this conflict has been going on forever. It's been going on and off for about 20 years, but not for 200 years. This is a result in part of the genocide that occurred in Rwanda and the movement of populations. So this isn't something that has to be this way. And if the countries in the region see the positive opportunities for themselves and for their people, I think this is a demonstration of serious international support and, frankly, the United States support in a way that we intend to provide sustained attention to this problem in a way that's never been done before. So, yes, it's taken a long time, but it can be resolved, and we believe that this is the moment to try to do it.
Well, as regards to the United States' role in this situation, can you give us a sense of the U.S. leverage in this issue in the DRC?
Well, you know, we are friends with all the countries in the region. We have a close relationship with these countries, and I think the leaders of those countries definitely like their relationship with the United States and treasure it just as we treasure our relationship with them. So we hope that there's concern about that. The United States is one of the leading, if not the leading donor for many of the programs that assist the region in health and economics and many other issues. The United States is very engaged, and now under the leadership of President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry, we are showing a level of diplomatic involvement that is unprecedented. When Secretary Kerry chaired his first meeting of the Security Council as President of the Security Council, he could have chosen a lot of topics to emphasize: Syria, Egypt, North Korea, you name it. He picked this issue, peace in Eastern Congo, to make the subject of the ministerial debate. I think that's symbolic of a new American and in part international commitment to, in a sustained way, try to bring peace and economic development to this region in Africa.
Thank you. Now, in very few words, the peace talks that are ongoing in Kampala, if they do not succeed within the framework, within the time that the regional leaders had suggested, should that be discouraging?
Well, the Kampala talks are not part of the framework. We encourage the Kampala talks. We went to Kampala to make sure that the ICGLR would encourage them. It would be helpful if those talks succeeded. It would be helpful if they were able to dismantle the M23 in the near future. It would be great if it could be done in the next 7 to 10 days, which we're hopeful about. It doesn't have to be done before the General Assembly begins, but it would give us more momentum. But whatever happens with the Kampala talks, the framework and the peace process involving the countries in the region goes on and will deal with the root and fundamental problems, not just the issue of M23, which of course is important, but it is much more than simply the Kampala talks that we're dealing with here.
Thank you very much, Senator Feingold,
for
your insights. Now, Senator Feingold is the special U.S. envoy to the Great Lakes region.